Hi there guys, and welcome back to Ask Charlie and my YouTube channel. Please remember to hit the subscribe button, the more the merrier, and to ring the bell if you'd like to be notified of my weekly videos. So I'm up in my bedroom. Gus is actually working downstairs on my computer and I didn't want to disturb him. So this week is a little bit of a different one. I've had a few people get in touch and I'm going to read you. I've got my notes on my lap. One particular person wrote to me and said, I would love to hear your take on the postnatal period, early years, and how you kept positive and sane with 3 under 3, from Becky. And lots of people with small children have got in touch and asked me similar questions, so I thought I would film this week's blog post to help answer some of those for you. So we have actually got 3 children and we had them in 2.5 years, which is bonkers, I know. We struggled to conceive Archie, who's the eldest, and then the other 2 were just, well, they're all little miracles, but they came quicker than one had anticipated. But it's great. It's great. It was complete and utter chaos and mayhem. So this week I just want to chat to you. I'm not an expert. I'm just giving you kind of my advice on how, you know, and my memories on how we muddled through and how we got through that time. So Si, some of you know, is an older dad. He had longed to have children and he was brilliant, amazing, really supportive, but not very hands-on when they were babies. He's much better now. So he didn't get involved with feeding, changing, bathing, any of that stuff, but he was very supportive of me and he was very good at producing meals, which is essential when you're a new mummy. So I was pregnant with Archie when we moved into this house in Sussex and I knew nobody. Simon had quite a few local friends, but I didn't have anyone. And I was still commuting up to London. I was working up there until I went on maternity leave. So it was actually quite a lonely period, most of my pregnancy. I enrolled in 2 antenatal classes, one in London and one down here in Sussex. And the one in London was great, but actually the Sussex one was really, really fab. And it was just through our local doctor's surgery. The doctor's surgeries have amazing support networks for mothers, you know, pre-birth and post-birth, and I think that that is really something that you should tap into, because those friends that I met there have become actually lifelong friends. They are such a diverse group of people. There's all sorts, but we all went through it together. And actually, having been so desperate to be a mummy, and it was such a shock when I had this baby that screamed the whole time, and it was all really, really difficult and overwhelming. And it is tough. If things in your head, you plan, you know, this perfect birth and this perfect baby and this perfect, you know, whatever, and actually the reality is you're not in control of it. These things happen, and Archie was also really, really very ill when he was tiny and in intensive care for weeks, and it was really scary. And these friends became really important to me, and I think it's so important to speak to people. It can be very, very lonely when you're stuck at home with a crying baby, or you've got a baby and a toddler and you're juggling it. They're long days. So friends, talk to people, meet up with people if you can. I mean, obviously, as I'm filming this, we're going through the coronavirus, so it's very difficult to meet up with people, but phone them, FaceTime, Skype, reach out. If you're feeling out of sorts, and I felt out of sorts, I didn't have postnatal depression, but gosh, I think I was borderline, and when Coco came along, all 3 of mine had severe reflux, so they were screamers, and I didn't get much sleep. So I was fragile actually for a while, and it's so important. I can't really stress this more strongly. If you are feeling out of sorts, reach out. And I did say to Si, I'm really struggling, I'm really not coping. We don't have family that could step in and come and help and let you have a few hours sleep when they looked after the baby. So we did get a little bit of help in, so I could just, you know, find my feet. And actually I found that routine, it's really, really essential with babies. There are lots of different amazing books out there. I did Gina Ford, which is pretty old school, pretty a lot of people, I remember reading it when I was pregnant with Archie. thinking, oh my God, I'm never going to do this. My doctor actually recommended it, well, our paediatrician, because of their reflux. It's really important to have a really good routine, because then you know why your baby's crying. Are they crying because they're hungry? Are they crying because they're tired? Etc, etc. And that routine, it evolves the whole time as the baby's growing, but you know where you are. You know, okay, the baby's going to sleep from 9 till 10. It's then going to sleep from 12 till 2:30. So you can plan your day. You can plan when you can speak to friends. You can plan when you can go out. You can plan when you can do the cleaning and the jobs and fitting those in. So routine, I believe, is really, really key. We all thrive from a routine. So I think that, and also when you have subsequent children, if you've got a good routine in place, then you know that you can have that special time with the other one. I think if you're feeding the baby, whether you're bottle feeding or breastfeeding or whatever, you need to set up an activity for the older child, so they're occupied. You know, you might have one hand free or whatever, and you can just juggle it, but have something in place that you can amuse the older child. I think when you have new siblings, and because mine was so close in age, it was difficult to explain about, you know, babies and things. Of course they understood, but I made sure that the baby was not in my arms the whole time, and that I gave, particularly when Coco was born and we just had Archie, that I gave him that time and attention as well as the baby. And when he was busy and occupied, then I would deal with baby. And it is a juggling act, but you don't want the older one to feel left out. Also, the baby brought him a present, which I think is very important. And the first time your older child meets a baby, it's really important that you hold the older child first, and that the baby is just there, and you keep a watchful eye. We had baby gates, playpens, you name it, so I could make sure that the baby was always safe. In fact, when Gus was born, his Moses basket lived in a playpen, so I knew if I turned my back, if somebody rang the door, that the baby was safely in the playpen, because, you know, they'd poke and prod. They were tiny. You know, they were essentially, I had 3 babies at the same time, so it was a juggling act. So we've talked about you know, postnatal depression, how you cope, and having core friends and support group, and reach out and be honest. We've talked about routine, and I can't stress this more highly. It's so important to find, you know, your groove and what works for you as a family. And then let's talk about sleep. I was told by the most incredible woman who, she actually came as Coco's, when I wasn't coping, when Coco was, I thought that Arch was a difficult baby, and then Coco came along, oh my God, different ball game. She, bless her, screamed for the first 6 months of her life when she was awake. She had such bad reflux. She was a really, really unhappy little thing. And this amazing lady, Alison, came as our night nanny, just for a couple of weeks and just for a few nights a week. But she taught me that the more sleep the baby has, good quality sleep during the day, the better the nights are. And God, it's so true. So, you know, if you think of a baby sleeping in a car that's bouncing around, that's not great sleep. In the pram, walking, again, it's bouncing around, it's not great sleep. They need peace and quiet, whether it's with a sunshade under a tree in the garden, which is very old-fashioned, I know, but actually it's lovely for little ones to get fresh air. So I would put mine out in the morning. If I was outside gardening, they'd just be there asleep beside me, or in their bed. And the lunchtime sleep, I always insisted, was in bedtime. And that might, you know, that can be quite restrictive, but the better that the day's sleeps went, the better our nights were. And to me, actually, that was more important. And then I knew that I could have some quality time with Sai in the evening, and I knew that come 7 o'clock they would be asleep until that feed just before I went to bed, and then I would, you know, hopefully just have a couple of feeds in the night, or however it went. So sleep is my next kind of big thing. And then keeping sane with small children. I think fresh air actually is what kept me sane. We used to go out every single day, whatever the weather. I would wrap them up and off we went, and we'd go and get that blast of fresh air. And I think particularly with boys, they need it. It's like walking the dogs, walking the children as well. And that is really essential, just to kind of get out of the house. It doesn't matter if the house is a tip. It doesn't matter if it's not clean, it's perfect. It doesn't matter if you haven't got your makeup on, you haven't got your shit together. Just be kind to yourself, I think, is so important. When we found out that we were expecting Gussie, we had just got planning permission to completely rebuild this house, and we were moving out for what we thought was going to be 6 months. And I was managing the building project with Simon. So we did actually get a nanny then, and that kept me sane. And so I was very, very good at kind of, no, you need help. I'm working full time, we're doing this big project. So we had an amazing nanny who came for a few years, actually a good few years. I think she was with us for about 4 until Gus started school. And by then I was also back working. So childcare is really important too. And if, you know, there's lots of different options. There's childminders, there's nursery, of course, at all costs. For us, it was sensible having a nanny. She didn't live in. We have had au pairs as well, which has worked really well. And you've just got it. All these phases are just phases, and you get through it. You know, now we don't have any help, and it's fine because the children are older and they can help, and I've got more time. When you're in that phase, though, you never see that it's going to end, as you're going to come out the other side. But you do. You've just got to hang tight and then try and enjoy it as much as possible. So I hope this rambling blog post has been helpful. I hope there's been some tips in there, and thank you for reaching out and asking your questions, and good luck with your little ones.